In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
Radio Hall of Fame basketball. The first NBA radio for all the fans around the world. Radio Hall of Fame basketball. We talk about NBA. We talk about passion. We are your radio.
The Elite Eight and the Los Angeles Lakers are going strong, led by rookie point guard, yes, Lonzo Ball. He has brought the Summer League crowds to capacity here. It's been packed, really the most exciting Summer League crowds we have seen in several years here, but especially these last two games, he's played extremely well. Look at the numbers. He has averaged 9.8 assists per game, almost 10 per assist per game, really creating for his teammates, which is the highest mark by any rookie in the history of the Las Vegas Summer League. Lonzo has also tallied 2 triple-doubles while in Vegas in 4 games, the only 2 ever recorded at the Las Vegas Summer League. So I'd say Lonzo Ball off to a pretty good start. And now we can begin SportsCenter, Elle and Matt, because Tom Penn, Tim Legler join me now live above the strip. Good morning.
Morning.
We're wide awake, ready to go. Lonzo Ball, aside from those assists, almost 10 per game. He's scoring 17 points per game and 8 boards as well. Tim Legler, what are your overall impressions? I know the sample size is still kind of small, but so far, what are your thoughts on Lonzo?
Well, the thing I love about him is that he's the rare quality of a guy that comes into the league that his main concern is making other guys look good. Because most point guards particularly, to come into the league now, they're wrapped up in numbers and scoring because that's really what it is now. That position has changed a lot. 8 of the top 18 scorers last year that led the league were point guards. Lonzo Ball thinks the game differently. He wants to make you look good. So if you want to run the floor, he'll find you. You want to set a screen and dive hard, Lonzo Ball is going to reward you. I love the fact that his head's on a swivel and he wants to play the game the right way. Now, he had a 36-point game in Vegas. I don't think you can expect that out of Lonzo Ball in a regular season in an NBA game. He did that because he had to in a Summer League game. But what I love about him is the fact that he is willing to sacrifice offensively for the betterment of others. And that's really what you want in a point guard. Very few guys that come in the league that play that position play the position the way Lonzo Ball does. So he's going to have a long, successful career. And the guys that play with him, Tom, are going to be rewarded because he wants to give it up.
He gave it up a lot, but he also took it. And I like the takes. His field goal attempts. He was jacking threes this week and only made 20% of them. But, hey, takes are as good as makes at the Summer League. You know this. You just want guys getting comfortable, getting in rhythm. And I actually like that part of his game, as aggressive as he was in being so unselfish. But then when it was time, taking the shot and living with the result. And a lot more to come. I'm actually excited about tonight.
But that was the key. Those first 2 games maybe too unselfish, which is fine, which is a good problem to have, I guess. In the last 2 games, we've really seen him pick it up. Again, Elle mentioned that the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time. That game is on ESPNU. See if the Lakers can advance to the Final Four, making it like college, right? Okay, Tom, most impressive rookie so far.
What'd you think first?
Dennis Smith. You can make a case for probably 7 of the top 9 guys. Right? We didn't see Neil Aquina, and I don't think Lauri Markkanen's in this class, but the other 7 picks in the top 9, you can make a case for any of those guys. But Dennis Smith, to me, if you think Derrick Rose and think of the first 2 years in the league, that's Dennis Smith. He's compact, he's powerful, explosive, he finishes. Dallas is thrilled to have gotten him at the 9 pick. They're probably going to put the ball in his hands from day one and let it be his team. And Dennis Smith, I think the best thing about him, he has a chip on his shoulder because other point guards were taken ahead of him. He wants to prove he should have been the highest point guard selected in this draft.
I'll take Jason Tatum. I think he's been the most consistent player across both summer leagues. And Boston needs a star coming out of all these high picks they've had. And Tatum showed it this year. He showed it this summer. He had the ability to make plays, make big shots. That jumper was wet at times, and he got after it and really delivered. I thought 20 and 9 over the course of those games. I like Jason Tatum, especially for what Boston needed out of this summer.
You know, when you talk about potentially having the biggest impact on a team, it certainly depends on the team, right, Tim? But that said, which rookie do you think could have the biggest impact right away?
I think all these guys will, but I think the one guy that stands out to me is Josh Jackson because Josh is a guy that even if he's not shooting well or playing well offensively, he is going to be a lockdown defender. I think this is a first-team all-league defensive player at some point in his career. He wants to be that this year. I talked to him last night. He said, I want to be Rookie of the Year. Make no mistake about it. He was the 4th pick in the draft, but he's the only guy in this draft that puts defense ahead of offense. And that's what Josh Jackson does. So he's a guy, to me, that I look for. His offense is better than it was when he got to Kansas a year ago, but his defense is what makes him stand out. He wants to shut guys down, and his offense will come later. And I love that mentality. He's probably the toughest, most competitive guy in this draft. That's why I think he'll have the biggest impact.
You could go with one of 7 guys. I like Josh Jackson. I'll go back to Lonzo Ball, though, because of what he means for Lakerland and what he means for the recruiting of free agents next summer. That's what this is all about. Magic is going to go get Paul George and whoever else will join him, and the more he can say, look at this kid you get to play with, this new Jason Kidd. I mean, he looks like Jason Kidd. He's playing like Jason Kidd. It's the similarities are remarkable, and that means so much for the future of the Lakers. It's not just his individual performance. It's the ripple effect, the synergy effect that he's going to have.
Speaking of recruiting, you think it was an accident that LeBron James was courtside on Wednesday?
Oh, God, do we have to talk about this?
I'm just saying, you brought up recruiting. Those things just don't happen. We shall see. We got a whole year to talk about it. You know we will. Tom, Tim, thank you very much. Much more to come from you guys here live in Los Angeles.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
The Lakers' first 3 games. Lonzo played in a couple of them. So it's great to have you again, Mark. LA Daily News, and becoming a regular fixture on our show, our Lonzo guy. First of all, I got to be honest with you. I initially said when John Lynch took over the Niners and Magic took over the Lakers, I said great player doesn't equal great GM. And then I watched the draft by the Niners, and I was like, that's pretty good. And there's a story today the Lakers could also land Rondo or Ian Clark. Well, the Kuzma kid looks like a good draft pick. Lonzo's been terrific. They got Brook Lopez. They got rid of the Mozgov contract. I got to be honest here. I was a cynic. I don't want to be a homer here, but so far, Magic and Rob Pelinka, Mark, it's kind of working, right? Like fast.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, the biggest priority the Lakers had this offseason was finding a way to get rid of either the Mozgov or the Dang contract. And when he talked to other executives around the league, they kind of chuckled and laughed and said, good luck, like, you know, easier said than done. And they pulled it off even before the free agency period started.
And they also, the other thing they wanted to address was maturity. D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young out. And defense, they just acquired from Detroit a 2-guard who actually plays defense. Now, let's go to Lonzo. Take my audience in to the games, the first 3 Laker games, 2 he played with Lonzo in the atmosphere.
It was unbelievable. As when I said on the show last week, the game was sold out, the Lakers-Celtics game on Saturday. It was like a playoff atmosphere. I mean, there were so many Laker fans filling the arena when the Celtics took the floor. They were booing them like it was in the NBA Finals. His dad was there the first few days, so he was kind of soaking in the crowd support as well. And, you know, I know that a lot has been made of Lonzo's poor shooting numbers, and he kind of redeemed himself a little bit with that breakout game yesterday. But even with all that in consideration, I walked away more encouraged than discouraged because you looked at his passing skills, his ability to run the offense. He already has changed the culture.
There's no question.
With how they play. And you look at recent seasons. Kobe Bryant's on the team when D'Angelo Russell was the point guard. No one questioned his passing skills, but there was always that puzzle for him that he was trying to figure out of when to pass, when to shoot. With Lonzo, there is no such puzzle. It's on his shooting stroke. But because he has those passing skills down, all his other teammates are cutting harder. They feel more inclined to pass because he's kind of setting the tone there. So as far as big picture implications, I think it's a positive sign already.
We knew he wasn't a great athlete. I mean, that we knew he was never going to be a guy that can lock you down at a point guard position. Could be a long team defender. By the way, Larry Bird was never a great on-ball defender. When you talk to Laker executives and scouts and all these people behind the scenes that won't get quoted in an article, are there concerns about shooting or defense?
Those are the 2 main concerns. And obviously, as we saw with exception of yesterday, the shooting can be a concern in this regular season. And he has to fix that because you need to be able to hold defenders honest on the floor. If they know that he's just going to pass, the floor suddenly shrinks a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, and the defensive part, it's not just with him. They don't have a lot of elite defensive players.
They're a lousy defensive team.
Yeah. So where they're going to make it up is the whole 5 guys on a string, how engaged they are. And where Lonzo can help with that is back to what I was saying before with the offense and how he's passing the ball. If he's getting them open looks, that slows down teams to get out in transition. And 2, if his teammates are hitting shots, it's human nature. They're going to feel more engaged in the game itself in terms of their effort and their willingness to expend their energy elsewhere. And that's one of the issues in recent years where if guys weren't getting their shots down, they weren't getting touches.
With Kobe, they weren't.
Yeah, and part of that was the old chicken and egg with him of, hey, his shot is going at times. Sometimes other guys are standing around, but it always kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy because then they felt more inclined to just watch him or not cut as hard, and as a result, he didn't pass him the ball. But with Lonzo, if he's continuing to do what he's doing, they're going to get easier baskets, and then they're going to want to hustle more on defense. And then that is another trickle-down effect. If they're making stops, getting rebounds, Lonzo's going to sprint down the floor and get out in transition.
Now, there was a pickup yesterday. For the casual NBA fan, this would not mean a lot. But the Lakers gave 18 large to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is a decent shooting, tremendous defensive two-guard. There's not many good two-guards in the league. He is repped by LeBron's people.
Yep.
LeBron was center court last night watching Lonzo. I think LeBron is keenly aware of his impact doing that last night. Was LeBron making a statement? What did the Lakers make of it when you talked to your sources there?
Yeah, I mean, he was overheard telling people he's impressed with Lonzo's passing. So that obviously helps. Laker fans obviously did their due diligence in planning the idea of, hey, LeBron, come to the Lakers. And I think back to your point about Pope and the fact that he's represented by Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent, that certainly helps. They now have a relationship that's built in terms of doing business. But I think the larger components in play were what you alluded to. They need to get a shooter. They needed to get a pretty good defender. They need to have someone who is a positive presence in the locker room. And then the financial flexibility component. They did not want to sign any guys beyond 1 year, and to make up for that, they're willing to kind of spend more money. $18 million, he's going to be making more than Klay Thompson and Draymond Green next season. And as a result of that, they kind of had to make a roster move where they waived David Nwaba. You know, he's kind of seen as one of these guys that, you know, he came from the D-League last year, second-year guy.
Beloved by everyone.
But loved everyone. And, you know, as far as setting the tone, culture, hey, he had that defensive hustle. But at the end of the day, they're willing to do that because this guy, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, can kind of give them some backcourt depth and that mentorship that they want.
Mark Medina and LA Daily News. And finally on Lonzo, take me to his personality. So I thought he pressed a little bit in the first night. I would expect any young person. I mean, I can remember, you know, to personalize this. I threw up my first 7th grade game. I was terrified. And I'm thinking, Lonzo, the world is staring at him, and I thought he pressed in the opener. But when you were around him for a week, what's his personality, non-basketball, pregame, postgame?
He's very even keel through the good and the bad. And I think that can cut both ways. You know, sometimes you want your athletes to wear their emotions on their sleeve, set the tone. But I think, especially in moments of adversity, a good thing not to overly react. And what was really striking, first game in particular, he was talking about how he felt frustrated. You know, some of the guys on the Lakers said the same thing. But if you were looking at his body language, it was not apparent at all that he was frustrated with the fact that he wasn't hitting shots. And to his credit, he was still finding a way to impact the game. And going back to earlier about his passing, he was able to get some rebounds. So, you know, I think the earlier return suggests that, of course, he's going to have to miss shots. But when there are games that doesn't happen, that's not going to totally dictate how good of a game he's going to play. And I think that goes a long way, not just in terms of bringing something to the table, but if he's not showing any outwardly emotions and getting rattled, trickle-down effect, especially with a young team that's obviously inexperienced. They don't quite have the maturity of a seasoned veteran in handling adversity.
36 points. The one thing I've noticed, that the two things that jump out to me, He's long. He's going to rebound well for a guard in this league. That you can't deny that.
How about that play yesterday where he threw a cross court to Kyle Kuzma? It's like he's an NFL quarterback.
No, his passing and his rebounding, today he'll be better than the NBA average at point.
And the thing about his passing that really impressed me is, of course he's going to fill the highlight reels with that, but it's very fundamentally sound. He's making the simple play. It's not like he's trying to be fancy. He has that court vision and awareness that allows him to do that, but he's willing to make the simple play. And kind of when you compare that to D'Angelo Russell, his first 2 seasons with the Lakers, that was one of the other criticisms. They were really intrigued with his passing, but a lot of times he was trying way too hard to make that home run play as opposed to a simple bounce pass. And I think here with Lonzo, he has those fundamentals down pat.
Kevin Durant's too weak to be first pick. He's a skinny teenager who'll never make it in a man's league.
Soft. S-O-F-T.
He has got some offensive skills, but you have to play defense.
In my opinion, he's just all right.
Yeah, he might drop 40, but he's not a real leader. He don't have that tenacity. He don't got that danger.
Scoring title's great. MVP, big deal.
Kevin Durant will sign with the Warriors.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Traitor.
Weak gravy train.
That was the weakest move ever.
That's what you call loyalty?
Durant out for 6 weeks.
Cry, baby.
The finals begin tonight.
Durant's playing at a whole other level.
And it's over. KD has his first NBA championship.
I strive for greatness. All my life, they told me I couldn't. But they were wrong. If I push myself harder than anyone else, if I train harder than anyone else, if I practice more than anyone else, I will be the greatest. Nike. Just do it.